Boston Celtics won a few awards. I'll talk about that, the one that they probably should have won. Then I open up the mailbag. Payton Pritchard, Luke Kornet, Patrick Beverley, and a ton of questions about Jayson Tatum's MVP case. Let's talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, with a free, fresh podcast that drops directly to your device. So open up your favorite podcasting app. You've probably done that if you're listening to this show, but go ahead, do that, subscribe. Bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends, like a Saturday night game in Phoenix, I'll podcast after that. You can watch the show on YouTube. You can get into the comment section. Let me know what you think about the show, about me, whatever. So, yeah. My name's John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I used to play a long time ago. Now, I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And for you, I'm here for you every day of the work week. So let's get into this. Later on, I'm going to get into mailbag stuff, Tatum's MVP stuff. I'll save it all for the third segment because there's lots of questions about that. Second segment, more mailbag, like the Pritchard stuff, Patrick Beverley, all that. Let's get into some of the news. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's get some of this news of the day out of the way here. Jaylen Brown, congratulations. You're the player of the week. Jayson Tatum, congratulations. You're the player of the month. Joe Mazzulla, no. Actually, you didn't win coach of the month. Eric Spoelstra won coach of the month, despite going 8-3. The Celtics only lost one game, the first game of the month. They won every other game. They got a 50-point win in there. They got a 40-point win in there. I guess that is completely just expectations, right? That is, the Miami Heat are kind of, they had some injuries, and boy, they're really overcoming that stuff. Must be the coaching. Celtics have the player of the week, the player of the month. Well, it's the players, right? And so Joe's not going to get that kind of recognition. And Spo is just, whenever Spo is in the running for one of these things, he's like considered in that elite class with the Greg Popoviches of the world. And that's so if there's any sort of like tiebreaker, they're like, well, Spo's a great coach. He must be responsible for this. So whatever. I know Joe Mazzulla doesn't care, and I don't even really care either. Like, that's not a big deal. But it's nice recognition. Would have been nice. I think Joe Mazzulla deserved it. So congrats to Jayson and Jaylen with their awards. It comes off of like just an amazing day. I can't begin to explain how perfect that day ended up being on Sunday. That was, I joked on Twitter that it might have been the greatest day in Boston Celtics history. But let me tell you something. When you factor everything in, by the time you got to the end of the day, you got a lot of elements there for a pretty elite day in Celtics history. Obviously, all the championships and all of that stuff, there's a million days that are more meaningful. But starts with, I walk into the building and Taylor Snow, who's the Celtics reporter for Celtics.com, he does this apparently wall sit, which if you haven't done a wall sit, you just like lean on a wall, you scooch down like you're sitting in a chair, but there's no chair. It's just, I used to have to do those in baseball practice in high school. Really works your quads, your legs, your glutes. It's an incredible thing. And he does it during Joe Mazzulla's pregame press conference. So if you see video out there of Joe Mazzulla's pregame press conference, and he goes, you can see him to be like, is Taylor doing a wall sit? He's like, oh, I respect it. And of course, me being me, I was like, Do you want to extend this press conference at all? Answer some unrelated questions just to really test the limits of Taylor's ability to sit on that wall. But it starts with that. Then I see Klay Thompson fire in a hook shot from the right corner three, and I was like, this might be a day. Obviously, it didn't translate to the game, but I was like, oh, okay. Then during the game, a 50-point blowout where everything's going basically perfectly for Boston. Everything is going wrong for the Warriors. It's this cathartic type of thing. The Celtics definitely have some residual thing where, the Warriors are kind of like a nemesis. So they're smoking the Warriors. And then the Jumbotron shows this woman up in the balcony, and she drops an F-bomb. She's like, let's blank go. And she tosses up double birds and immediately was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And then throws up the heart sign and it was like, oh, she's trying to make up for it. I love her so much. I want to know who she is. That was an amazing moment on the Jumbotron because that was her instinct. She just said, oh, I'm on camera. Boom, chuck him to the sky. How many times does she do that a game? How many times does she do that a day? That's just her knee jerk. Yeah. Boom. She must just greet everybody with 2 middle fingers. It was amazing. Her reaction was amazing. And then it gets better. They do the wave at the game. And normally I'm not a wave guy. I'm like, a wave at a basketball game, I'm like, I'm normally anti-wave. But it bothers Jay King of The Athletic so much that I have become pro-wave because it bothers him to this incredible degree that I'm just like, anything that bothers him that much has to be good. So I've flipped to pro-wave. Not only that, the wave is going on and they show him on the Jumbotron reacting, just shaking his head to the wave. Just, the in-arena production crew, you guys are on point with this. And then, as if that wasn't just icing on the cake, on my way home, after I posted this podcast yesterday, I like to listen to the opposing team's podcast on the Lock, because we've got every team represented on the Locked On Podcast Network. And I'm listening to Locked On Warriors, and Cyrus Satsis says, in 100% earnesty, says, I really believe, this is a direct quote, the duo of Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody will be better than the duo of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in 2 years. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Just what, like an orgasmic day. I loved yesterday so much. One of my favorite days of my entire life. It was so good. It just built up throughout the day. It was so great. The game was at 3:30 on a Sunday. I got home by 11 o'clock. I got to sit here and watch TV, have a drink, and not go to bed at 4 in the morning. Oh, everything about that Sunday was so perfect. I can't stop. I can't stop. It's the day I dream. It's never going to be duplicated. It's never going to be replicated. It's just forever. I will forever appreciate March 3rd, 2024. Happens, and it's gonna be easy to remember. Jayson Tatum's 26th birthday, and Jordan Walsh's birthday was 20th birthday. So a couple of birthdays, I'll just always remember that day. And maybe someday, Jason and I can sit down and I can explain why that day was so beautiful. Aside from it being his birthday, he probably has thoughts about it from a different perspective, but I just want to just shower in the glory of the awesomeness of that day. A couple other things before I get into the mailbag. No Donovan Mitchell for the Cavs for the Tuesday night game. Jaylen Brown questionable, Kristaps Porzingis questionable. So that could be an interesting game. Who knows? It might not matter. Celtics already hold a tiebreaker against Cleveland, but it really is just, if they beat the Cavs, it would be their 12th win in a row. And but it would just bury them like that. That's just putting another full game between them and the Cavs you start looking towards the Milwaukee Bucks for magic number purposes. And that's a little bit different with the Bucks because the Celtics don't own a tiebreaker there yet. So that's just a little thing to work towards. And before I go and head into the mailbag, I want to say thanks to all of you listeners. The new New England Sports Survey is out. It's done every year. And once again, the Locked On Celtics podcast was recognized as one of New England's favorite podcasts. And what I love about this is it's an open-ended question. It's not like multiple choice. It's what's your favorite New England sports podcast? And just write in. And there's a lot of podcasts. So like Greg Bedard, my boss over at Boston Sports Journal, he has the most popular one, Patriots, of course, 19%. Another Tom Curran's Patriots podcast is right there. And then Locked On Celtics is right below that at 12%. So it's all pretty bunched up. It's all really close. And then it's two sports like 98.5 and whatever podcasts. So for the Locked On Celtics to bust through this Patriots-dominated landscape, I'm so appreciative of that. So once again, Locked On Celtics is among the most popular sports podcasts in New England. And that just makes my heart soar because it's all I want to be as part of your routine, your daily routine, and just to make your Celtics experience better. So thank you, everybody who might have voted, or if you would have voted, all of that. Let's get into the mailbag. Up next, Payton Pritchard question, Luke Kornet question, Patrick Beverley question, and how long will this Celtics run last? It's all coming up next. Thanks for, nope. I've got to start saying today's show. I got to make sure I get these words right. Get my thoughts in order. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, I've been a proponent of the therapy. I've let everybody know that I've benefited from therapy. I think everybody, no matter what, should consider it because it's very helpful. I know the two biggest obstacles to therapy are finding a therapist, because it's usually relegated to who's in your area, and sticking with that one because you may or may not click. And it's a very personal relationship. And those two things make it very, very difficult. BetterHelp eliminates those two things. You fill out a survey, you let them know what you're looking for. They match you with a licensed therapist. If you don't click, you can switch. So it works at your convenience. It's designed to be flexible, suited to your schedule. It's entirely online. Go to betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. You give it a shot. I'm telling you, it's going to be very beneficial. Betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. You do it all online. Get matched with that licensed therapist. It's just whatever it is. Do you need to get something off your chest? Are you is something at work? Is it something deeper? Is it something that's been around a little bit longer? It's all great to get off your chest. BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba. You'll get 10% off your first month as well. 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. HELP. BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Would love it if you go to the 24/7, the first ever 24/7 streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today. They're on YouTube every day, all day. Locked On Celtics made a couple of rotations in yesterday's programming because of the big win over the Warriors. But now it's also on Amazon. And so go check it out on the free Fire TV Channels app. So if you got an Amazon Fire TV, if you got the Fire Stick, if you can get to that free Fire TV Channels app, you've got Locked On Sports Today. National coverage, all the big stories, all of our hosts. It's not contrived arguing crap. It's real sports talk. So go check it out there on YouTube and on the Amazon Fire TV, free Fire TV Channels app. All right. Mailbag time, which if you wanted to submit, go to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. My name, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. People send in the questions all day, every day. So I've picked a few here. I try to do once a week a mailbag because I get so many questions. I try to work that in. So thank you all for doing it. That's the only place I do it. It's the only place I get the questions. It's the only place I can get them organized. So I'm sorry if you want to send them any other way. That's the only way. It's the only way I can get them organized so I can answer as many as possible. And if I stop talking, and start answering, we can really fire him in. Malachi says, is it me or is Payton Pritchard the most important player coming off the bench here lately? It's not just you. I mean, he's been huge. I mean, obviously, I would say Al Horford. You almost forget that Al Horford is coming off the bench because he starts often enough where you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. Al Horford's coming off the bench. He's clearly the most important guy coming off the bench. Then it's Payton Pritchard. But hey, look, I'm the first person to crow when I'm right, and I'll be the first person to tell you that I was wrong. And I will say, I admit, I expected Pritchard's year to be a little bit less than what it is. He's been great. He's been great all season. It's going to be interesting to see how he's used in the playoffs because, again, there's just certain limitations. But, hey, I expected certain limitations, and he's overcome those during the regular season. I know Joe Mazzulla loves him. He's going to get his opportunities. So we'll see how those opportunities come. He's earned them. He's been great. I think it's been huge. He's been huge to have. He's just incredible around the rim, incredible grabbing offensive rebounds. He's sneaky. He's slippery. He plays at a speed that if you're not careful in the NBA, it can sneak up on you, and he can really do a number on these other teams. So, yeah, Payton Pritchard has been great. And if you want to say most important player coming off the bench, I would argue that it's Al Horford, but it's, Pritchard has made a strong case for himself. So that's on me I didn't think it was going to go this well, but good for him, man. Good for him. I love the fact that he's proving people wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong in a situation like this. Ben asks, is this Celtics core going to last a few years, or is this a one and done run? Well, man, this is like a depressing thing to talk about, but I think this is a 2 year window. If they win the championship this year, like I expect them to, I'm pretty sure they're going to run it back, right? There's no reason to be like, let's give up an opportunity to win a second championship. If it goes as well as it's, I think it will. If this continues and they make that run, then run it back. And I would be fascinated to see what basically the same team would look like after having won a championship. Because I'll tell you what, no matter what, and I will say this a ton next season when we get there, if they win this championship, you guarantee that I will be saying a lot. Doesn't matter that you bring the same guys back. It's a different team next year. Same guys, different year, different situation after having won a championship. And who knows, after maybe some of them winning a gold medal, it's going to be an entirely different season, different mentality, different feeling of like you start to get into maybe they start punting some of the games a little bit early. Maybe they don't have that same dominant run. Maybe they do. Maybe they realize, oh my God, this worked. We got to keep doing this. Maybe they learn something along the way that changes how they react next year. This is obviously something that's not going to be an issue until next season, but it's kind of like a preview of next season's podcasting. But they've got this year, they've got next year. I feel good about that. Do they have a third year? Well, if they win 2 championships, now this is starting to get greedy. It's starting to sound like LeBron. Not 1, not 2, but if they do, like the possibility, right? If they win a second championship, then maybe they like, hey, press your luck, let it ride. Let's go for a third and be super expensive. But that's your window. That just do it and then figure it out after that. And then after that, I feel like something's going to have to change, and it'll be major moves. It'll be major moves because at that point it's just untenable. The new CBA is designed to break these teams up. I would even be shocked if it got to a third season. And I think everybody in that locker room knows how small this window is. Jayson Tatum referenced it. I feel like there's an awareness of how things are going to go. So they know very, very short window. Enzo, speaking of looking into the future, if the Celtics want to get better on defense, do they sign Pat Bev? Patrick Beverley in the offseason to the vet minimum. No, Patrick Beverley. No. He's not. No. There's a reason why he can't even stay on the team. No, he's just, I don't want him around. I don't want his attitude here. No. I could not be more forceful in my saying no, absolutely no to Patrick Beverley, which means they're going to sign him. His people are going to play this, and he's going to be a problem all next year and whatever, but I don't care. I just don't want Patrick Beverley around. I don't think he's as good a defender. Like, he's got the reputation, but I don't think he's that good anymore. And I don't want that energy. I don't like his energy. So, no. And finally, Luke Kornet from John. Luke Kornet has a very nice touch from the foul line. Do you see a world where he expands his game to include becoming a pick and pop player who can be a 35% or better 3-point shooter? I would point people to Luke Kornet's earlier career when he first came in with the New York Knicks. In his first 3 seasons, he shot 79, 193, and 108 3-pointers. So he shot a bunch of them. He came in his rookie year, shot 79 3-pointers, shot 35.5%. His next year, shot 193 3-pointers, the most in his career, 36.3%. And then it all started to go away. He shot less than 29% the following year for Chicago. Then he dropped down to 25.5% the year after that. And he's just given up the 3-point shooting. I was shocked to see that he took 13 last year for the Celtics. He's given it up. So, yes, he's got a nice shooting touch. And he can probably fire up a few jumpers if, it got to it, but he's not going to space to the corner. That's not going to be how he lives his NBA life anymore. He tried it. It was okay to start, and then it all fell apart, and I just don't think he's got the confidence in his 3-point shooting anymore. So the answer, John, is no. But luckily for him, he's got other ways to contribute, and so he's doing a great job, but not out to the 3-point line. All right, tons of questions about Jayson Tatum and his MVP chances and all of that. So I will get to all of those next. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's because they do things like give you $150 in bonus bets just for placing one $5 winning bet. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, sign up, go make one bet, $5, win $150 in bonus bets. Very simple. So get your buckets with your first bet at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. It's our official sportsbook, and it gets you everything like quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props. It's fun. I understand some people like to bet on multiple things and have some fun. I want you to set your limits. I want you to be able to have this fun and gamble responsibly, and so does FanDuel, because immediately when you sign on, they'll tell you to set your limits. What would you like? What's your budget? Well, all of that stuff. It's great. So you're an adult. It's America. You want to bet on sports? Go for it. But do it responsibly so you can have some fun and you're not going overboard. So go check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go shoot your shot. FanDuel's official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'm normally the host on Wednesdays, but the Celtics keep playing on Tuesday night. So Jake Madison's been getting a fill-in. We were joking around like our fill-in can't win 6th man of the year. He's getting too many starts. So go check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. It's a great way to cover it. We cover the league like it's just a lot of fun over there. So, all right, get back to the mailbag. Let's wrap it up with a bunch of questions here about Jayson Tatum and his MVP case. Start with Chandler, who says, I agree the narrative behind best player, best team doesn't help Tatum's case. However, is it possible it will work? If you remember, Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year was best defensive player on the best defensive team. So, yes, it was. And yeah, it's possible it can work. Look, Jayson Tatum just won Player of the Month twice for the second time. He's the only player to win it twice. So there is that little bit of momentum out there, right? So much of this is narrative based that once the media starts latching on to, hey, what about Jayson Tatum? It gets into the front of mind, and the people who are voters, and I'm not a voter, but some people who are voters say, what about Jayson Tatum? And they start to look into the possibilities. Now, it just needs to get the right amount of votes. I still don't think he's going to get it, but I understand the argument. I think with Marcus, there was no real obvious defensive player of the year, and the momentum started to shift a little bit because the Celtics had the best defense. It was like, well, somebody there's got to get some recognition. And it was, I think there was a Rudy Gobert kind of like, okay, we're sick of this. And yeah, I think there are a bunch of different factors. It's not exactly the same case with the MVP because there's an obvious MVP in Luka Doncic. I think he's an obvious MVP. Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic. I said Luka Doncic, right? It's Nikola Jokic. That's the obvious MVP. Luka is putting up MVP numbers, but I think the Mavs record will hold him back a little bit. But he might get more numbers than more votes than Tatum. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have a strong case. OKC just continues to be up there at the top. So, yeah, but Nikola Jokic is the obvious MVP. So I don't think the argument's going to work for Jayson Tatum. Malachi says, am I right or wrong to believe that JT would rather win finals MVP than regular MVP? If he had a choice, I'm sure if he had a choice, he'd want both. But winning the finals MVP, 99.9% means that you have won the championship. There is an outside chance. It's happened before where a player dominates the series, but his team loses. So I will leave that 0.1% as that possibility. But I think Tatum, if you said you have to make a choice, I do honestly believe that he would pick finals MVP because then he'd win his championship. And then you win your finals MVP, and now you're a winner. Now you're stamped. And next year, like, don't give up the championship. Give up the MVP, get your championship, and then next year, as I've made the argument on this podcast, once you've won the championship, then the narrative in people's heads, they're like, oh, okay, he's capable of winning a championship, so now he's an MVP. Whatever. It's not whatever. Social media has warped people's brains. Whatever. So that's where I think that choice would be. Christoph says, I believe Jayson Tatum's lack of triple doubles might hold him back from being considered in the MVP race. Most past MVPs get many throughout the season. Interesting point. I think triple doubles are it pushes the player's name into the national discourse more often. So is it the triple double that makes people say, oh, yeah, look how many triple doubles. I mean, it was with Russell Westbrook, but it's, if you're a voter and you haven't watched every game, because you can't watch every game, but if you have game time on watching NBA TV and they're just kind of going through the highlights and you just hear Jayson Tatum with a triple double, you're like, oh, okay, great game for Jayson Tatum. And that just kind of sticks in your brain. So every time Luka has a triple double, it's like, oh, okay, Luka, great game by Luka. Even if you're not even watching the highlights, even if you're doing something else, you just hear Luka Doncic triple double. Okay, Nikola Jokic triple double. Okay, so those two guys get named, get a lot of recognition. If Jayson Tatum starts getting triple doubles, then I think that would kind of get him a little bit of a boost. And obviously, like, people, we like triple doubles. We like double digits in multiple categories, except for turnovers. But yeah, I do think that he would get, like, will he get triple doubles more regularly? I think he will eventually get to a few. Honestly, last season I thought one of my bold predictions, I think, for last season was that Tatum was going to have a few triple doubles. I'm surprised he hasn't had them more because he gets the points. Obviously, he gets the rebounds and the assists are there. It's just the ball moves so much sometimes that he gets more of the hockey assists than the actual assists because the potential assists are there. The potential assists are there for him, but not only does the shot have to fall, but the guy has to take the shot. So the Celtics ball movement offense kind of works against him as far as the triple doubles go. Chase asks, it seems like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown's relations. We're moving past the MVP stuff here. Seems like Tatum and Brown's relationship is more businesslike and more on court than off court. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, look, you don't have to be best friends just because you're on the same team. I think it's fine to not be like buddy off the court as long as you don't hate each other. And they definitely don't hate each other. They like each other. And I think they're different people. And like, I'm sure on the road when they're in New York or something like that, they'll go hang out together sometimes. Like sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, depending. So it's not like they don't want to go out and hang out. Like they'll hang out, but they're not like texting like your friends. They're not like sending each other Instagram reels being like, ha ha ha, this is you. And it's like some dog video. Like that's not who these guys are. And that's fine. It's fine. Like you don't have to be best friends. It helps sometimes. Like Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown. That's great. That's great. And everybody's got a healthy respect for Al Horford, but I don't think people are going out with Al Horford either. Right? But it's Jaylen and Jayson that get the questions because they're the two best players. But do Jayson Tatum and Derek White go hang out all the time? I don't know. Do they? Probably not. Does Derek White hang out with Drew Holiday? I don't know. No one asks those questions. It's just Tatum and Brown. All of these guys like each other. The locker room this is one of the best locker rooms. Everybody's cool with one another, and that's great. You can still win having, one or two a-holes on the team, but this is a great relationship. They do very well. There was a moment in yesterday's in the Warriors game where they had an extended conversation. They were just joking around. They were like standing there talking to one another. I think they genuinely like each other. They're just not like close enough where they'd say like, oh, we're great friends. So it's cool. It's totally cool. And finally, Jarrett says, I noticed Jayson Tatum has 2 lockers. Is this a recent thing or has he had 2 lockers for a while? Is this a common status move for number ones to have multiple lockers? Now, I can't speak for a lot of the teams around the league. Some guys do have 2 lockers. The Celtics locker room is one of the smaller ones in the NBA, but yeah, he's had 2 lockers for a while. I don't know how it came about. I don't know how he claimed it, but he's got the 2 lockers, and I think it's the only open one. So if the Celtics fill the spot, then he might have to share that space. But if they upgrade Nehemias Queta, then he's got his own locker there. So, it's an interesting dynamic there. I think there are guys who do have 2 lockers, and I do think that it's definitely a status thing. And it is what it is. I personally would like to expand their locker room and give everybody bigger lockers. I just don't understand how these NBA, these are huge dudes. I look at how close the lockers are and how small the lockers are, and I'm like, give these guys some space. Give them nice, big, double wides. But the Garden is small. It's not Boston's building. They have limited space. There's another team in there. Bruins. There are more players on the Bruins than there are on the Celtics. There's visiting locker rooms. It's not the easiest thing to do. There's limited area. So if they did expand the locker room, they would have to really redo a lot. So it's difficult. But yeah, Jayson Tatum has 2 lockers and it's a status thing. All right. That's it. Done. Podcast over. JohnKaralis.com/mailbag if you want to ask your questions. I'll do a mailbag every week. And in the off season, I'll do them regularly on Mondays because we like alliteration, mailbag Mondays. But this is a Tuesday show and it's a mailbag Tuesday. I should be eating tacos on a mailbag Tuesday just to keep up with the alliteration. It's mailbag taco Tuesday. So anyway, subscribe. If you're new to the show and you're still here and you're not sure if you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that button. Do it. Hit that button on the YouTube page as well. Subscribe, ring the bell, get notified when I drop a new video. Hop into the comments section, become an everydayer, join me every Monday through Friday and for bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends. And then share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.